Hello and welcome to the exciting adventures of Bill and Kevin, the real estate investors, investor guys podcast, is what we're getting ready to do right now. And I am tongue tied this morning. We're flipping around on times, and as I my time here. Before we get into money, because we've been talking about money, I want to bring something up, and you've run into these people before. And I literally, so I'm working on book number 2 already, and I came up with an idea for book number 3 over the weekend based upon 2 people who I know who are just absolutely pig-headed and stubborn and think they know what they're doing as real estate investors and aren't willing to listen to anybody. And Bill and I, we've met them before. These people, they're sure they know what they're doing, but everything they're doing are complete failures. They are so confident in what they are doing that they refuse to read a book about it. They refuse to take classes about it. They refuse to take advice about what they're doing because they think they know better than everybody else. Meanwhile, these people, these specific people that I'm talking about from this weekend, have properties that they don't have tenants in for over 2 years, that they purchased and spent way too much money to rehab. They're afraid to put tenants in them because they spent so much time and personal attention rehabbing the properties. They're afraid that if they put a tenant into it, that the tenant won't take care of it. Meanwhile, their strategy for that property isn't to flip it, it's to keep it and someday put a tenant in it. This is just one of the many stupid things and traps that people get caught into when they're investing. Okay. First off, letting things get personal. But secondly, not being willing to listen to people who know better, who've been there before, who are successful in real estate. And it's sad that we've got those people out there. They give real estate investors a bad name. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending upon how you look at it, they usually fail pretty quickly, usually within their first few years, because they are overextended. They bought more properties than they can afford because they aren't making the right choices. And I just wanted to put that out there. So my next book after the one I'm writing right now is going to be a cautionary tale based upon their foibles. So just be cautious of that and pay attention to what Bill and I are telling you. We're not the ultimate, as much as we'd like to think we are, the ultimate source. There are other places out there to get information, but we're here to help. We're here to provide the information and the experiences that we have. So if you follow us, pretty much you can't go wrong. Everybody can stumble a little bit, but we all know that when we stumble, we just get back up on our feet and we keep on going. As long as we do that, we will be fine. Now, let's jump into money, because we have been talking about funding deals. We've been getting kind of back to basics. And we talked about private money last week, and we could spend probably a whole number of shows on private money.
Sure.
We will probably be revisiting that just a couple of times as we keep continuing to go through. Quick recap. You can use private money for your down payment. You can use private money for your financing. You can use private money for rehab costs. You can use private money for pretty much anything at all. You just have to find the right lenders who are willing to partner up with you for a return on their investment and make that happen. And putting that together is part of your package. And we already talked about that last week. So we're going to jump into our next strategy. Let's talk about hard money today, Bill.
Yeah. So hard money is the simplest explanation is the loan is primarily, not solely, but primarily based on the hard asset. That's where the term hard money comes from. It's changed since the Obama crash of 2008, and we are likely to experience a Biden crash for this year or next year. But when the real estate market crashed in 07, 08, the hard money market changed. They took it pretty hard, a hard hit. Hard money lenders did in having to take back property, which they don't mind typically because they come from our industry, so they know what to do with them, but they're not necessarily wanting to do that. So when you look at hard money, they really can be a silent partner in your business because they will review the property before you ever buy it. And they're a much better, in my opinion, a much better review of the property than what you'll get with just an appraiser. Because a hard money lender looks at not what the property is worth just right now, but looks at the long game like you and I do. Now, the long game doesn't necessarily mean years, it just means after rehab. So the after repaired value. So the hard money lender will come out. They'll want to look at what your rehab budget is. They'll tear that apart. And it's okay if you are off a little bit. Usually they require contingency, 5 to 10%, depending on the lender. So you got a little flexibility in your budget. And say if you budgeted, pick a number, you budgeted $12,000 for floors and you got it done for $10,500. Well, then you've got an extra $1,500 that you can spend somewhere else if you need to. And if you don't need to, you got $1,500 of extra profit in your pocket. But that hard money lender will keep you moving forward. They'll keep pushing you. They typically don't do quite as long as, well, they're not going to do 30 years, anything like that. They typically will do 12 months. You can get 6 months in many cases. You're going to pay some points. A point is 1% of the loan amount. So if I'm borrowing $100,000, 1 point is going to be $1,000. So if the lender says the rate is 9% plus 2 points, then you've got a $2,000 fee up front. And when I say up front, usually when you get the loan, $2,000 fee up front, that's your 2 points. And then you're paying 9% on the loan. And your big question on that is, are they amortizing a loan over 30 years? It's not a 30-year loan, but you want them to amortize the loan over 30 years so your payments aren't ridiculously high. And sometimes they will just, the smarter ones that I've seen, I do business with one that does it this way. They just include the first year's worth of payments. So you can focus on the transaction and nothing else. Got your rehab money, let's get it rehab, get it sold. Don't you worry about payments. And here we go. We're going to include that. We're going to roll that in the note. So get it done before then, and we won't have anything to talk before the time frame, 12 months in this case. We won't have anything else to talk about other than what the net profit was for you.
Yeah, and there are a lot of hard money lenders, especially when you've been doing business with them for a while. They will do interest only. If you're just doing 6 months or a year, they'll just do interest only. Because that's really where they're making their money, is the interest. When they get their payment back, they've got their principal back, and that is what a hard money loan situation is about. The lender is looking at getting their principal back in 6 months to a year. Typically, hard money loans don't go past 3 years at the most. Okay, and they're looking at getting the principal back as soon as possible to get it out there and lend it again. So a lot of hard money lenders, once you've done a deal or two with them, ask them if they can do interest only. And interest only payments for 3 or 4 months while you flip a property, very easy to handle. And you're going to pay back that giant lump sum at the end anyway. If you're paying a full payment, you're paying pretty much just interest your first 6 months anyway. Easy. First few years, easy. So it's a wash either way. But yeah, I
really want to, and I'm like, well, you do either way you go. A traditional 30-year note, you're going to have interest only basically for about the first 5 years. When you look at the amount of principal gets credited to paying down the note, but you're like, man, I really basically have an interest only note because so little gets paid. So get the note that works for you. And get out there and buy something. Fabulous time to be buying.
Yeah, we're up on a break, but we'll be back in just a minute.
Thank you for watching the Investor Guys podcast.
Absolution X. Lifestyle apparel like no other. Only at absolutionx.com. Get yours.
Live the resort lifestyle every day with Cayman K. the perfect pieces for every wardrobe. Shop the entire Cayman K collection and find your favorites. Find all our styles at CaymanK.com.
You are watching the Investor Guys podcast.
All right, and we are back, and today we're talking about money and financing your real estate deals. We're talking about hard money today. A lot of people think hard money means that it is hard on your wallet. It isn't necessarily that. It is typically a higher interest rate bill, and I remember when we were paying 12% and more for hard money loans. It isn't 12% yet. It may go up there if the Biden economy keeps doing what it's supposed to be doing. But when it was 12%, we were still making money.
Sure.
You have to factor in when you are doing any of these numbers, you have to factor in your cost of money. Is 12% worth it? Is 12% going to be something you can work with? If you are doing the deal right, it absolutely is. It's 12% on your money. It's not 12% of your profit. It's 12% of the money that you borrowed from them, typically anywhere from 80 to 90%. Some hard money lenders, if you have some experience with them, will do 100% of ARV or 80% of ARV, which means if you can find a property that is discounted 20% lower than your ARV, then you can get a no money down loan through a hard money lender. Hard money lenders, there's no hard, fast rule book for hard money lenders. Okay.
Right.
There's no government requirement that they have to do this or they have to do that. Find a hard money lender that has the terms that work for you. There might be a hard money lender that does 80% of ARV. Count on paying more points for that privilege. If you need something done and it is a better term, chances are you're going to pay points for it. You're going to pay a higher interest rate. It's all a wash one way or the other. But sometimes that is what is required for us to do the deal.
Yep.
You have no money down, it might be worth paying the extra points in order to get a loan from a hard money lender that'll do 80% of ARV. It may be worth having a hard money lender that'll do 100% of ARV. You'll pay more, but you might be able to do a loan for a property that you might not have otherwise been able to do had you not been able to tap into that access. So keep all those things in mind. Do some research, do some homework. Okay, start calling around. All you have to do is a Google search for hard money lenders, and you will find thousands of them, literally thousands of them. Make sure that they are licensed in the state where you need the loan, because that is a requirement. That's one of the few federal requirements for hard money lenders. Any lender has to be licensed. It's not a private lender. It has to be licensed in the state where they are giving loans. That's pretty much the criteria you need to look for first, and then figure out what loans they have that are going to fit what your situation is and going to make your investing life easier and make your investing life more profitable, so that you, and when I say more profitable, I don't mean lower interest. I mean you being able to do more deals. If you can do 80% of ARV and you're finding properties that are 20% lower than ARV, you can be doing deals all day long. And if you didn't have that scenario, you might not be able to do deals at all. Which is more profitable, giving up that more interest and doing multiple deals, or not giving up that interest and not having any deals, so it doesn't matter. So what do you want to add? Because I can see you there biting your tongue.
No, you're absolutely right on. Don't get caught up in, oh, it's 12%, that's too much for me, or it's 9%, that's just, I can't do that. Most of the time people make that decision without putting a pencil to it and finding out how much it really is. And you don't do it over the life of the loan unless you're looking at certainly like a 12-month or shorter loan. You can look at it over the life of the loan, but you don't figure out. So we get this mental aspect, oh, I'm paying 9%, and we think about mortgage, and gosh, I can do that, and that for a lot of people would be true. But in a hard money loan, you're a short time frame, and that time goes by pretty fast. And you're not paying a whole lot of dollars if you'll actually put a calculator to it and figure out exactly hard cash what that interest payment is.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't understand amortization either. If
Yeah.
you're paying 12%, we're not paying 12% right now, but if you're paying 12% on this loan, okay, and you're flipping this house and you've got it sold in 4 months, you've paid 4% on the money that you borrowed.
Yep.
Okay, you've given them a 4% annual return in 4 months on the money. You're not paying that 12%. If you keep that for a year, yeah, you're paying 12% on that money. The sooner you get in and out of a property, which is what a hard money loan is designed for, in and out fast. Sooner you get in, sooner you get out, the sooner you put money in your pocket and pay off the loan, the better it is for you, the better it is for the lender. That's what they want. They're making that same amount on that money, whether they have it lent to you or lent to me or lent to Bill or lent to somebody else, because they're going to take that money as soon as they get it back from you, and they're going to turn it right back around and they're going to lend it to another investor that's going to give them 12% return on their investment. So they got 4% from us in 4 months. They're getting 4% from somebody else in the next 4 months. They're getting 4% from somebody else in the next 4 months. They're still getting their 12%. And they're happy to be able to do that, because every time they turn that around, they're making points on that as well, which is money in their pocket. So
Yep.
Find the right time to use a hard money loan, find the right time to use private money. But that's what this is all about, is understanding what your options are out there. I mean, there's conventional financing, and we're going to talk about that in another show. There are so many different money options for us as real estate investors. We need to understand which ones there are. But the point that we would drive home mostly for every single one of these shows is there is absolutely no reason for you to not get started investing in real estate. Money is the biggest thing that most people cite. I don't have the money. I don't know how to get the money. That is not a valid excuse. That is not a valid reason. If that is something that you are citing as an excuse, then you're not listening to our show, and you're not doing your homework. You're not doing your research. You're not reading books. You're not talking to other people who will tell you that money is not something that will stop you from investing in real estate. Now we're going to go ahead and jump onto a break real quick because we're short on time today, but we'll be right.
You are watching the Investor Guys podcast.
The Investor Guys podcast will be back shortly.
Absolution X. Lifestyle apparel like no other. Limited editions. Unique, exclusive designs. Seek your absolution. Get yours. Only at absolutionx.com.
Live the resort lifestyle every day with Cayman K. The perfect pieces for every wardrobe. Shop the entire Cayman K collection and find your favorites. Find all our styles at CaymanK.com.
Thank you for watching the Investor Guys podcast.
The Investor Guys podcast will be back shortly.
And we got back for our final segment on hard money. And you know what, Bill? I know Bill loves hard money, and to me, it's a needed tool that I use, but I'm not in love with it. I'd rather fund it different ways, and we'll talk about some of the different ways that we can fund things later. And once you have some momentum, now don't get me wrong, I started off doing hard money loans. I did a lot of hard money loans, okay, to get me to where I work, to where I am. That provided me with an education. That provided me with a way to figure out different ways to do things. And I use that same information for hard money for my preferred method of, and we'll talk about that some other time, of financing. But hard money, especially when you are first starting out, or even if you are a seasoned real estate investor, hard money can be the difference between doing a deal or not doing a deal. And you know
Absolutely.
what? I would rather make less money from doing a deal with hard money than make no money from not being able to do a deal at all because I didn't have any money hard money or otherwise. So
Yep.
take that hard money option and run with it. There are so many great hard money lenders out there. Bill and I could, we're not going to promote anybody, but Bill and I could tell you
Good.
dozens
Yeah.
more that we use ourselves, that we enjoy, that we like, that we have personal relationships with, and they like working with us. And that is the other thing too. Remember, these guys aren't the bad guys. These guys want to work with knowledgeable investors because this is how they make their money. If
Yep.
if you come to them and you know exactly what they're looking for, and they will tell you exactly what they're looking for. It's mostly the same, but some hard money lenders want something a little different or that a little different, but the core of what they're looking for is essentially the same. If you ask
Yep.
them what they're looking for, you provide that information, you provide those numbers, it fits in that criteria for them, okay? Provide that to them. They will scrutinize you the first couple of times when they write that loan. But once you have performed on a loan with them 1 or 2 or 3 times, it is so easy. You make a
Yep.
call, you send them the paperwork, they take a look at it, typically within a day or 2, depending upon how busy they are, not having to do with you, depending upon how busy they are. They will give you a call back and they'll say, you know what, yeah, we can get you funded on that. That's no problem. Let me know what you need next. And
Yep.
they're going to deposit that money either into an escrow account, or depending upon the situation, they may actually even deposit it in your own account to deposit into escrow. Each lender is different. But there is a process that they go through. Understand what that process is, work with them, and they will work with you, and they will be happy to hear from you every time you call them.
Yep.
They will be happy because it means it's money in their pocket, and they know that you are an investor that performs. They know that you're an investor who knows what you're doing and has their best interest at heart also, because you want to pay that loan back as quickly as you can, because you want to be out of that, put money in your pocket, be on to your next deal.
Yep.
What do you want to say for our second half of our segment here? And then we can...
And I think the big thing, and you touched on it earlier, the big thing for investors is understanding that no matter what shape you're in personally, gee, I got no cash, I got no credit. That does not stop you from doing real estate deals with a lot of different types of lenders. Now, hard money lenders, since the Obama crash of 07, 08, have focused a little more on our credit than they used to. It used to be almost 100% deal driven. Now they look at a lot more of your personal credit. It's still primarily deal driven, but between hard money and private money, there's no reason in the world for you not to go out and be doing a deal. And as Kevin said earlier, not having the funds is the weakest excuse, because it's not a reason, it's an excuse. It's the weakest excuse you can get when you're doing this game, because there's too many options out there. If you have a decent deal, it doesn't have to be a great deal. If you got a decent deal, you're going to find the money for it if you'll follow the things we're telling you to do.
And you'll be surprised how low of a credit score hard money lenders will accept if the deal works. If you give them the numbers, the right numbers, you'd be surprised. Low sixes, like low sixes, they don't have a problem with, as long as your numbers are correct, as long as they pencil out, and expect them to double check you, especially when you first start working with a hard money lender. Expect them to double check you. There are hard money lenders that I work with that have particular markets that they prefer, and they prefer those hard money those markets for them because they have people in those markets, contractors, whoever else that they work with, who will go by and take a look at the property and will verify the numbers that you are giving them. And they will come back and they'll let you know, I think you're budgeting too much for the kitchen, or I don't think you're budgeting enough for the kitchen. I think you need to do this, or I think you need to do that. As long as it still fits in the criteria that they have, even if they're saying you need to spend more money on the kitchen, maybe you still get it done for less because you know something they don't. But say, go ahead and borrow the extra money for the kitchen as long as it fits in the criteria. If you don't need it, you're not actually going to get it from them, because they're not going to give it to you in a draw. So it doesn't matter. You're going to get, they're going to keep it. They're going to get it back. You're not going to pay for it. Find out I don't want to say hoops because they're not things that are difficult to go through, but find out what criteria they have, what hoops they want you to jump through, understand what those are, meet those demands because they're not unreasonable. And the other thing is hard money lenders, and I hear this from new lenders all the time. Okay. They're disappointed because a hard money lender didn't fund them for something. But I look at the reasons why and I look at everything, and it's because they didn't do their numbers correctly. They didn't factor in something correctly. Hard money lenders have been doing this for a long time. If they hadn't, they wouldn't be lending hard money because they would have failed and they'd be broke. Okay.
Yep.
So hard money lenders have been doing this. They know what they're looking for. They know how to run the numbers, sometimes better than new investors. So if a hard money lender is coming back and they're saying we can't do this, ask them why. Why? What is it? Don't challenge them. How dare you? What is it? What is it about the numbers that aren't working for you? So I know, so I can take a look at it. Okay.
Yeah.
Double check the numbers that they're giving you back. It could be that they made a mistake somewhere, and if they did, let them know. It could be that you made a mistake somewhere. If you did, learn from it. But hard money is a great resource, and it's something that you should put into your tool bag. Absolutely. Final thoughts, Mr. Barnett.
Well, just last week I was helping a client of mine get with a hard money lender, talking about credit score, and he said, "Bill, I'm embarrassed to have to tell you this, but I'm below 6. I'm like 570." And I went, "Okay, if you told me on the front end, I would have simply put you with a different hard money lender because I have one that will do 550 to 600, and their only difference between that and their 600 to 620 rates is they say, okay, we're going to charge you $500 more to do your loan simply because of the bad credit." And he was like, "Man, that's a lot." I'm like, "Dude, you're an idiot. You jump on that deal and run." He's going, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, you need to jump on that deal right now." And he did. And so, we're closing on a deal this week with him. So I'm pretty fired up for him. But, new guy, never done it. Sounded high to him. Wasn't. When we looked at the numbers, it had zero impact on the percentage of profit that he was making on the deal.
And there's ways you can use that to boost your credit. We'll talk about that in another show because we're up on our time. But thank you for joining us on the Investor Guys podcast. We'll see you here next time. Bill, you have an awesome day. I'll talk to you
too,
later.
brother.
Take care.
All right. Bye now.